Hello everybody, this is Danny from Deep South Homestead, back on porch time today. Guys, it is wet, it's nasty, warm. Got a front coming through, hoping to be able to get a little bit of cooler temperatures. I know there's a lot of y'all that's been enjoying a lot of cool temperatures, but here in the Deep South it is extremely hot, it is muggy, and that's life in the Deep South. But on porch time today, I'm going to kind of continue a little bit on what I was doing before on facing the giants. I think that we got a lot of good response on that. A lot of questions was asked, a lot of personal messages were sent, and I feel like that it might be necessary maybe to expound upon that a little bit more. And I want to talk about life as a journey. It's not a destination. We have to understand in life that as we go through this life, so many of us, and I see this everywhere. People are just like, man, I can't wait till I retire. I can't wait till I retire. You know, and guys, life is not about a destination. Life is about the journey. It's about living while you're living. Because you see, you can live your life and never really live, because you're held up by things in life. We seen when I was talking about facing the giants how that some of the things that we face in life tend to bog us down, and I'm no exception to that. You know, everybody I've met in this life has faced these same exact problems, and it's like so many people. Well, let's put it this way: society and technology has fixed it to where we're literally supposed to live a specific way. They have it where you have a job from such and such a time in the morning till such and such a time in the day. You come home, you know, and people's lives get wrapped up with everything, and then before you know it, you're 20 years old, and then you're 50 years old, and then you're 70 years old, and life has just really passed you by. You don't know how many people I talk to that tell me, Danny, there's so many things I wish I could go back and redo. The missed opportunities in life, because I felt like because I was young, I had my whole life in front of me out there, and it really didn't seem like it was that important at the time. And if you guys go back and watch, I got an older video. The name of it is just called The Journey. People have told me this is probably the best video that Deep South Homestead has ever made, and I'm not going to argue with that. I mean, there's different strokes for different folks, the old expression goes, but in that video I talk about a lot of things that I talk about my life in general, and how that I had X number of friends growing up, and now there's only, I think at last I checked, there's probably 2 or 3 of us left. And you know, all the other friends I had, they had dreams just like I did. But the only problem was with most of them was they were looking for the destination at the end. Man, I can't wait till I retire. I can't wait till I get to that, you know, till I can draw my Social Security and I don't have to go out and beat the bush anymore. I can get my retirement. And their life was cut very short, and they are no longer with us anymore. You know, they've passed on. And I sit and watch this, and I said, man, they missed it. They missed the journey, you know, because they were pushing it and pushing it and pushing it, trying for the end goal, and thinking that the joy would come at the end when they could finally retire. And let me tell you something, retirement is not even in the Bible. I don't know that God ever intended for us to quit work. I think He intended for us to work until we pass, and there is evidence of that in the Scripture. But you know, guys, this is a point I'm trying to make, is that so many of us get caught up in this rat race we call life, and we forget that life itself is about the journey. It's not about reaching the end. Now, there's nothing wrong with making provisions for the end days of your life so that you can be more comfortable. But it's not necessarily, it shouldn't necessarily be the focus point of your life. My personal life, as y'all know, if you've listened to my previous porch times and some of my previous videos, I've talked about how that I was that child that everybody said, man, stay away from this guy. He doesn't follow the rules, you know. He's not the model citizen like he's supposed to be. He doesn't do things right. And guys, it wasn't that I didn't do things right. I just lived, and life was a journey, and I knew that, and I lived every moment. And y'all have heard me say on, like Facing the Giant, people's asked me, what do you do for a living? You know, I told you, I said, I live for a living. Now, if you want to know what I do to make money, now that's a total different story. That doesn't play a part in the journey. And that's where I find so many people that today are very unhappy people, simply because the path that they're either stuck on, they're in a rut, or maybe the path they chose. Maybe they went to college and they decided to be somebody particular, and in being someone particular, maybe their field played out, and they didn't have an education for anything else, and they just kind of drift along through life, trying to figure out where they fit in at, and life is miserable to them. And guys, that's not what life is intended to be like. And I want y'all to understand that when I do porch times like this, I'm really talking to myself as much as I'm talking to y'all, because most of my porch times has to deal with things in my own personal life that I deal with on a daily basis. And I just share a part of who I am with you. And to know that you've come to the end of your life and you missed the whole journey, that's sad, guys. Because the Bible says, unto everyone is given the same opportunities. You know, because I see so many people out there that they really belittle someone who's made a lot of money, or maybe someone who's wealthy. They sit back and they say, you know, oh, they were born with a silver spoon in their mouth, or whatever. You know, their family's got plenty of money. And guys, I'm not saying there's not those instances, because I know they are. But I also know people that are very wealthy that started off with absolutely nothing and built their empire just out of strict hard work. They lived the journey. They enjoyed the journey. They never let an opportunity pass. They took advantage of every opportunity. And I think sometimes in life there are things that come along and we have a tendency to keep putting off and putting off and putting off something that is really important to us. And you have to understand there's some things in life that only come around once. And then there are those people who have multiple opportunities to succeed at life. It's not up to us. It's up to the Creator. The Father is the one who determines whether we keep getting chances over and over again. And I think that as we go through this journey called life, we need to realize that the material things in this life are not necessarily the most important things in this life. Friendships, relationships, bonds that's made between people, these are the kinds of things that mean something. And just because you feel like you've missed an opportunity in life, don't give up. You know, because we mentioned in Facing the Giants, quitters never win and winners never quit. You never could do anything. You know what I mean? And having that negative attitude, a lot of times, will drag us down, and it'll make us complacent to the things that's going on in this world. Guys, we've got to remember, just like I talked about in the last porch time, problems and obstacles should not be called problems and obstacles. They should be called challenges, because we're going to face them our entire life. And if we begin to look at them as a challenge rather than an obstacle or a problem, then just simply by changing the words that we use, lots of times will help us to become an overcomer. And any of you who studied Scripture, if you read about in Revelations and where Christ is speaking to the 7 churches, and he always, right at the end of the passages there, when he's talking to the 7 churches, he's blessed is the man who has an ear, let him hear. In other words, when you hear something, receive it. And guys, that's kind of where I'm going with this, is there's things that's going to happen in your life. Some things are beyond your control. There's been opportunities in my life that I look back on, and they happened many years ago. And I tell myself, if I had only taken the opportunity when it was given to me and went with it, I can see now where things would be different in my life. But once you reach a certain point in your life, it's like, I love pecans. I need pecans for my health. And all my life I have said, I'm going to plant pecan trees, I'm going to plant pecan trees, I'm going to plant pecan trees. Well, here, some 15 years ago, I did plant 2 pecan trees, and I bought bigger ones, thinking, well, that's going to really be good. And I went with the varieties they told me for my area. Guys, it's been 15 years. These pecan trees are only a little bit bigger than they were when I planted them, and I'm still not getting any pecans off of them. I get 3 or 4 every year, and it's not that animals get them. The trees just are not growing at a rapid enough rate, probably because of my soil type here, because it's so sandy and stuff like that. But I can't, at my age, sit back and say, oh, well, I'm going to go ahead and plant pecan trees now because one day I'd like to pick up pecans. Well, guys, that phase in my life has ceased to exist, because now if I'm going to have pecans in my life, I've either got to go somewhere where there's already trees that's hundreds of years old and pick up pecans, or I've got to go buy them. So it would be foolish of me at this point in my life and the journey to tell myself that I need to start planting pecan trees so I have pecans to pick up. That opportunity in my life has passed. Now, I don't mind planting pecan trees for future generations, but it'll never be for me. And I think that's one thing we have to come to grips with in our life, is where are we at in our life? How old are we? And make our decisions on our journey based on our age, because age plays a big factor in the journey. Now, if you do any kind of study about men or women who become millionaires, I think it's like 65% of them, or maybe a little more now, never became a millionaire until they were in their mid-60s. So to think that it's too late to actually become something in life is ridiculous. So think about the fact of your journey in this life. Where are you headed? What are you trying to accomplish? What are your goals? Goals should be set based on age and health. There are those that I know personally that have, or that are, severely handicapped. And yet they're some of the most enthusiastic people I think I've ever met. They're always talking about, well, I can't wait till I get to do this, or I can make plans. If I can just get this built, then it allows me to do that. And they go on. And then, guys, the enthusiasm is intoxicating from some of these people. And I'm like, wow, I see people with disabilities and how they're pushing so hard to have what they want. And Yet I see people who have good health, and all they're doing is complaining about missed opportunities. And I'm like, you just don't get it. If you want something to happen in your life, you got to make it happen. You can't sit around and say, well, I'm going to wait for this or I'm going to wait for that. Because if you do that, life is just going to pass you right by. And we're going to be just like one of my former porch times. I talked about the difference between on a tombstone between the day you're born and the day you die is that little dash. That little dash is your life, and it's kind of short. You know, it seems like when you're young, you think about, oh, I'll probably live to be 70, 75 years old, or maybe older, and it seems like that's way out yonder. And you just let every day keep passing by, and every day keep passing by, and the next thing you know, a year is gone, 4 years is gone, 5 years is gone, and you're still where you were. You've not advanced one bit. Maybe you've learned some skills or something like that. But guys, enjoy the journey. Don't look to the destination at the end. Because life is not about that destination. Life is about the daily journey. What you experience that day. The emotions that you feel that day. The love, the compassion you have that day for things in your life. Guys, that's the things you enjoy. I think it was Solomon in the Bible who talked about the beauty of flowers, how that they grow up and they're so beautiful, but when the hot sun comes and they're cut down and they just wither away and they're gone. Guys, that's just an example of our life. The Bible says it's like a vapor. You see the smoke come off of something, you see it, and then all of a sudden it just disappears. And that's how life is. It's here, but just for a short period of time. And it's up to us as individuals to do something about that. It's up to us to enjoy the journey. Don't stay drugged down on a daily basis. Find the positive things in your life that day and build upon those things. Don't let life pass you by and get to the end and go, wow, where did my life go? But yet, stop right where you're at and tell yourself, what is it about today that I love? What are the positive things about today? Because every day has evil, the Bible says, sufficient enough for itself. Tomorrow is a clean slate. Nothing has happened yet tomorrow. So don't take things from today and put them on the plate for tomorrow. Let tomorrow stay clean so that when you wake up in the morning, you have a clean slate. Every morning in my life when I wake up, I say, Father, thank you for the day that you've given me. And today I have a clean slate. And Father, help me to enjoy the day that you've given me. I put my shoes on this morning. I hope that I get to take them off this evening. But if I don't, then the journey called life that I've been on will have been okay for me because I've lived it all the way. I've not sit back and not enjoyed it. Now, I'm not trying to say I didn't have days that I didn't enjoy because that's just life. You're going to have good days and you're going to have bad days. But it's up to you and it's up to me as individuals, if we're having a bad day, to look for the positive things in that day and try to build upon them. If you're having a bad day, find a friend. Find something that you love to do. If you have some hobby that you love, just lose yourself in it. If you love music, turn the music on. Listen to the music. If you love nature, get out in nature. You know, I'm going to say something here that I've probably never said before on anything that I've ever done on YouTube. Back in the 1980s, I suffered from severe depression. And I come to a point, I didn't care if I lived or died. But I didn't want to die. but I also didn't want to live. And I fought that on a daily basis for years, and I never opened my mouth to a single soul about the war that was going on within my soul. I went to counselors. I talked a lot to different people. I had one counselor look at me. He told me, he said, Danny, start doing the things that you used to love to do. And I told him, I said, but I don't love doing them anymore. He said, I know you don't love doing them. He said, but make yourself do them again. And guys, I took his advice, and I made myself start doing the things that I used to like to do. And before long, the things that I used to like to do, I like to do them again. And I woke up one morning and I realized that somewhere in the journey, the depression had slipped away and that I was a happy man again. And I told myself, I don't ever want to go back there again. And y'all see me looking to the side right here. There's a cardinal. He's flying right here around me trying to get things out of the trees here. But guys, that's what I'm talking about. There's hope. Do not give up. Because life is a journey. Will everybody be rich? No. Will everybody have good health? No. Will everybody have all the desires of their heart? No. But you know what? Whatever you have in your life, stop and enjoy what you have at the moment. Be like the Apostle Paul said. The Apostle Paul said, I've learned to live with much, and I've learned to be content with much. I've learned to be content with a little. And whatsoever state of life I'm in, therewith I've learned to be content. And guys, I've had a lot at one point in my life, and my health broke down, my wife passed away, and I had nothing. And you know what? With the proper attitude, the days that I had nothing, I was just as happy as the days I were when I had a lot. Because you see, happiness is not something that just happens. Happiness doesn't just happen out of the blue. Happiness is determined by who you are and how you look at life and how you go through this thing we call the journey. Because you can spend an entire lifetime living the journey, and you can be as bitter can be, or you can be like some of the elderly people I've come across, or some of the sweetest people I've ever met in my life. And then I've met some of the older people in life that I don't even know how they exist. They're so bitter. They can't find anything positive about anything. And yet, I ask myself the question, why do you want to put yourself through that? Why do you want to live that life? It's up to you, just like it's been up to me. Now, is my life perfect? No. My life is far from perfect. Do I have everything I like in life? No. There's so many things in life right now that tugs at my heart. And yet, they feel like they're out of reach. But at the same time, I know that I'm okay because I'm enjoying every day and every opportunity just like it was my last. I've learned to live every day like it's my last day. And it's not until we can do that that we come to the realization of what life really is. Life is meant to be lived. And I'm begging with you, let's say that. Live your life. Don't blow it. You've only got one of them. Make the best of it. Don't get hung up in places that you can't get out of. But love who you are. And when opportunities come around, seize them if they're seizable. If they're not, enjoy the fact that you got to live it. And never look back. Always look ahead. Guys, I hope that this has been inspirational. And I hope that it's helped some people out there. Because you know what? When I sit down and do this behind the camera, a lot of times I walk away feeling a little bit better about myself. Because I've actually pep talked to myself. And I know if it's done me some good, I'm hoping that it's done you some good. Because sometimes we just got to look in the mirror and say, as I look in this camera, it's looking right back at me. I'm talking to myself. And it really, I got mosquitoes buzzing around my head here. And it really, really makes a difference, guys. When you look in that mirror, the person you see on the other side, you need to love them in order to be happy. Guys, have a blessed day. Thank you from Deep South Homestead.